First, I mean, before I, get into the general discussion about where we are in the economy and the investments, let me talk a little bit about the politics. As many of you know, I have now announced that I'm a candidate for the United States Senate in Connecticut. And I've been spending time on the campaign, but I haven't really been campaigning yet. I mean, that's going to start probably the next few weeks. I'm still hiring the rest of the campaign staff, getting the office together. We're building out a new website. The one that we had up there, that's still up there, it's just something I put up originally. So I'm getting a new website, and a lot more information will be on it. And right now people don't think I'm a serious candidate because I'm not really doing anything. The election is the primary is not until August. It's a year away, and the space of time between the primary and the general election is only 2.5 months. So it's a really short election, but it's a long time for the primary, and that's going to be the main battle. Can I win the Republican primary? And people, they might not think I'm not doing anything because they don't see me out there. I'm not going to all the meetings yet, but I am working on a strategy and building out a mechanism to try to win this race. And in the meantime, the company goes on, the business goes on. When I first started Euro Pacific Capital, I did everything myself because it was just me. And now that's not the case anymore. I have analysts that help select the stocks. I have portfolio managers. I have a lot of brokers. There's a few clients in this room that go way back with me from when I was kind of like a one-man shop. But very few clients now actually interact with me anyway. I mean, most of the clients of the firm are working with other brokers, like the people here in the back of the room. So I have some free time to devote to the campaign. The main where I'm going to sacrifice is a lot of my leisure time and other things that I might have done to grow the business, to help make the business bigger. That's a sacrifice that I'm going to bear. But it shouldn't have any impact or diminish your experience as a client with your relationship with the broker, the quality of the investment advice, the quality of customer service. I still set the tone as far as the big picture. I decide what regions of the world we're going to invest in, what types of companies to be invested in, and all that is going to get communicated to you through the brokers. That's not going to change. So the fact if I'm out campaigning, the brokers are still able to help you with your questions. And most of what we do at Euro Pacific is more of a buy and hold strategy. I'm not trying to be a market timer, so it's not important that we look at the markets every day and decide what to do. We're not really doing that. We're making a decision, and we're putting our money where we think it's going to do the best over the long run, and we're collecting dividends. One thing that is new at Euro Pacific, and you might want to talk about it, is that I recently set up a registered investment advisory business, which means that in addition to running brokerage accounts and charging commissions, which is what most of you in this room, if you're a client, that's the type of account you have, the managed account will involve a discretionary portfolio where we're able to buy and sell at our discretion without discussing in advance with you what we're proposing. And it'll be a different fee structure. It'll be a annual fee rather than a transaction-oriented model. But that's still something that I can do on the campaign trail because, again, it's not short-term trading. It's more of trying to build efficient portfolios and rebalance them and reallocate them over time based on changing markets and changing prices, but not to try to trade, not to try to short-term trade, but to try to better manage a long-term portfolio. So maybe the managed portfolios, they'll be certainly more active than the brokerage accounts, which are we very rarely sell. But maybe 10 to 20% of the portfolio might change in a given year. But that again, I can still manage that very effectively, and I have a portfolio manager who's helping me while I'm on the road. Things will change a little bit more if I actually win the election, because if I actually become a senator, then I can't be a stockbroker. I can't work at Euro Pacific. So I would have to take a leave of absence from the company. And again, I'm sure that I've built an infrastructure and I have a plan should I actually win. But I don't know, I mean, obviously it's not going to be easy to do. But if the people in this room help me, it's going to make it a lot easier. And there's two ways that you can help. You can donate money, and you can hand me a check. You stick one. You make out a check. I think you make them out of Schiff for Senate. It used to be Schiff Exploratory Committee, but I think it's Schiff for Senate. And you can just stick it in my pocket, or you can mail them. If you go to the website schiffforsenate.com, there's an address there in Connecticut, in Weston, where you can mail your check. And if you can also donate directly on the website. And the most that you can donate as an individual is $2,400 to the primary, but you can also donate $2,400 to the general election. So you can make a $4,800 contribution. And if you're married, you can do twice that. You can do $9,600. Now you can do less. That's the most you can do. And I've given, I maxed out on Ron Paul. I've given some money to some other candidates that I believe in, but it's very rare that I actually give a politician any money, because generally they're not going to make any difference. But I think here's a situation where if I win, it actually might make a difference. And most people, they go to Congress, because that's what they want to do. That's their career. That's the next step on the ladder of their political campaign. And the minute they get there, the first thing they do is they figure out, how do I get reelected? Even the people who are running as Republicans and who legitimately believe in shrinking government, the minute they get to Washington and they're a part of government, they don't want to shrink it anymore. They like it. They want it bigger so they can stay there. And so I think it's important that if we're going to solve these problems that were created by politicians, we can't send politicians to solve them, because they're always going to do what gets them reelected. And unfortunately, solving these problems means risking not getting reelected. And that's something that few politicians are willing to do. I'm willing to do it because I don't care. I'd rather not get elected in the first place. I wish that the current senators were doing a good job so I can keep doing mine. But unfortunately, they screwed it up so badly that I need to interrupt my career in order to solve their problem, fix the mess that they made. But the other thing that you can do, and this is something that I'm working on, and hopefully it will, really revolutionize campaigning and surprise a lot of people. But I am building out on my website an interactive database for volunteers to help me. And I am loading the database with all of the voters, names and phone numbers in Connecticut, all the registered voters, the independents, the Republicans. I bought the whole list. All right. I also bought all the donors lists from Connecticut, all the large donors in the state of Connecticut, and I have my own customer list of 200,000 people. All right. All that, names, phone numbers only in the database. So if you're in here, no one's going to know. They're just going to have a name and phone number. And what's going to happen is anybody who wants to volunteer, and you go to my website, just sign up that you want to volunteer so we can notify you of the stuff that's happening. But what's going to happen is every day you just go on that website and it'll ask you what you want to do. Do you want to help me raise money, or do you want to help me get out the vote in Connecticut? And if you get out the vote, you just go to the computer and it's just you're gonna say, okay, I'm ready to call. And it's gonna give you a name and phone number. That's all you're gonna see. But you'll call it. And the computer is gonna keep track. So you're gonna it's gonna know who to give you. It's not gonna give you somebody who's just been called. It's keeping track of who's been called, because it's putting the names out to all the different terminals all around the country who are volunteering. And you'll have a little list of questions that you're gonna ask. But the whole idea is you're gonna be calling people up in Connecticut and telling them about me. And also taking some short polling questions. So every day I'm gonna have a poll. Hopefully 10 to 20,000 people will be volunteering. And what I want is, if I have 10,000 people making 10 calls a day, we're making 100,000 calls a day strategically to the voters of Connecticut. And my computer will be able to know, and I'll be able to, these are the names we need to call, because I'm getting all the information. We're also collecting all the polling data. So we know, and graphically, we'll be able to know, who's leaning towards me, who's supporting this guy, or if somebody says, I'm voting Simmons no matter what, I'm never going to change. Fine, we'll know not to call that guy again. But we're going to collect all this data, and no one else is going to have that. I mean, no one's going to be able to find 10,000 volunteers. None of my other components can probably find 100 volunteers. They're going to have to pay people to work for them, because they don't, why work for them? They don't stand for anything. So if I can get people in this room